AYAR Law. AYAR Law. Their number is 800-513-5315. 800-513-5315. The ERC program has been changed, so even if someone told you that you don't qualify or that you won't get much back, you should still call AYAR. The number again, 800-513-5315. What you're hearing.
Up in 30. Running wild through his house.
Gotcha.
Diagnosed with spina bifida, Carter's parents were told he might never walk. But then, Michigan medicine specialists were able to perform a life-changing surgery on Carter. 10 weeks before he was born. Still safe in his mother's womb. Now that's a Michigan answer. To learn more about Michigan's best children's hospital, visit michigananswers.com.
Some people call me the space cowboy.
From the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, this is Guy Gordon on 760 WJR. Today, Guy is live from the launch of the exhibit, The Apollo, When We Went to the Moon. Get inspired by your history at the Henry Ford. Visit henryford.org. Here's Guy.
Good. In one of my favorite places on Earth, if you can picture this, a one-scale Saturn 1. Is it the Saturn 5? Is it the Saturn 5? Yeah. Because we are here to. We went to the moon and we'll be playing throughout the broadcast because we want to send an exhibit that opens tomorrow forward, and if you can figure out what our Friday musical theme might be. I welcome in Kate Rams, an exhibit at the Henry Ford. Hidden candy store moment for me. This is just great.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear you like it so.
Exhibit because obviously Space Flight Center down in Houston, City Center down in Cape Cod. There's a center elsewhere.
Right. This was from the U.S. Center, which is in Huntsville, Alabama. And during the Apollo program and the programs leading up to it, that's where the rockets for those programs were developed. And then at one point they created a museum and visitor center for that initiative. So they created this exhibit, some loaned items, and then a traveling exhibit brought it to us.
It is such an important part of our history because it may very well have been, and I guess I think it's probably the greatest in the history of our nation. And 3 years in the rear view, and yet I sometimes still seize upon the wonder and the awe of that moment.
Mm-hmm. It was certainly a pivotal moment. It involved the industries. There were so many scientific and political motivations to go to the moon. It seems like a point of unity that we look back towards, and the exhibit says that when we went to the moon. Of course, there's the sense that we as Americans, we as humans, and went to another stellar body.
So some of the things that caught my eye, and because of preparing for the show and all of that, I didn't get a chance to linger as long as I would have liked to and to geek out. However, I mean, you've got an honest-to-goodness Apollo astronaut spacesuit. You get a sense of how heavy it was for these astronauts to maneuver in it.
Yeah.
And just the bulkiness of it. It's 24 layers thick.
Mm-hmm. They call it spacecraft because it has to find spacecraft having all of the life support, all of the communications that are needed. Astronauts, in this case when they were on the moon, but today when there's spacewalks on the International Space Station, just amazing how much to all of this. At one point, there 100,000 people working on the Apollo program at its height in the 60s. So a massive collaboration by a lot of people.
And I read a book just a year or two ago about Apollo 8, and the one thing that they pointed out, the components and pieces that are in there, and yes, there were redundancies, but basically, just one or two could scrub the mission or cause it to fail. So the top and the quality control and the attention were really just so incredibly important because so many things could have gone wrong.
Yes, yeah, and of course we know of those situations where things did go wrong, and that could have gone wrong, and that really drove the technology of the time. One example is integrated circuits, which were new then. We would say computer chips today. They weren't invented. Needed to do their job exactly right the first time. There could be no defects. So much money was poured into that industry in order to make them as effective as they were.
And there were things, obviously, that did go wrong. We remember Apollo 13. One of the artifacts that you have here, I think, is the carbon dioxide scrubber.
Yeah.
Because they had to.
Yeah, they had to retrofit it. People in Houston were doing what engineers there.
Well, there's the wonderful scene. Dump a bunch of debris on a table. They have up there. We've got to figure out.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that movie. I just rewatched it this past weekend after seeing this exhibit and stuff. And it's pretty historically accurate. So I hasn't watched it in a while.
For children or grandparents bringing children here, they also have the opportunity to actually reach out and touch and feel a piece of the moon.
It's a meteor. So they can actually touch and feel that. And we're actually going to have moon rocks that were brought back and modules coming to the Henry Ford. So that's March 5th and 6th. You can check out our website for more details on that.
Now, is this open to just members or to the general public? Having a special opening tonight for Henry Ford members.
Yeah. So that is a benefit that we like to give. But to the general public, and it'll be here through May 8th.
No.
It's included with admission or with your membership.
So the other awkward question, parent and grandparent has to be prepared for the ask. The one having a difficult answer for was slide rule.
No.
There's a
exhibit of the desk of one of the engineers. And of course, he's got all kinds of compasses
and all these now incredibly rudimentary, almost that days. And you have to explain to, I mean, you know, there's for pocket calculators.
Yeah. I think explaining to kids a time before the internet is difficult. At least it's difficult for me with my 7-year-old when he has questions like that. So explaining that analog kind of technology, but then the amazement that future generations will have that we went to the moon with this rudimentary technology. And how amazing is that humans were able to do it?
And the fact that your grandma's smartphone had in capacity than the onboard computer of the lunar module.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there are so many great stories. For those of us
real time in the 60s, it's just such a wonderful, grand moment of achievement for Americans. It's also, you know, here we are at loggerheads with the Russians.
There's also,
remember the Apollo Soyuz mission, the Skylab Soyuz mission.
When, you know, for a moment there,
we built a bridge in space with our Russian counterparts.
Yeah, it was kind of an era of good feelings after the space race that was very much embedded in the
what?
All of it is within
Your easy reach.
You can get into your earthbound vehicle and come here.
To the Henry Ford, you can visit thf.org. Jump on social media at the Henry Ford. And again, it opens to the public tomorrow. Apollo. The other exciting things happening at the Henry Ford a little bit later. Kate, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Guy.
Good fun. Like idiots. I'm not point out. And now there is a new solution out in construction zones where state workers are at risk. It requires a traffic camera that would keep an eye on you. We'll discuss the Guy Gordon Show.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
New school, new job, new home. Change is hard and can leave you feeling isolated. And divorce delivers one of life's hardest blows. The relationships you counted on are suddenly gone. But you don't have to walk through this alone. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has guided men through the challenges of divorce. You're not alone. Call Cordell & Cordell.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Detroit area attorneys. Offices in Troy and Ann Arbor. CordellCordell.com. Wesley had IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Coming after my house, my car. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
Wesley called Optima Tax Relief.
Oh, they were great people. Optima Tax. They know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-682-9964. 800-682-9964. Optima Tax Relief. For details, visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Well, it's that time of year again when the garage floor gets dirt and grime building up, and a lot of us see the concrete crack and shift. My friends at Motor City Floors and Coatings have shown me they can repair that damaged garage or basement concrete floor, making it usable again with their innovative one-day concrete coating.
1 minute to traffic and weather.
Change to that nasty concrete floor, but don't have the time for the lengthy, never-ending renovation. The great thing again.
Okay. Let's see.
Concrete coating system. 4 times
Yep, and she is on ready to go.
All right.
Will be applied in all types of
And yeah, you
That's
pronounce
why
it
so
right.
many
It's Kim
homeowners
Bersey.
and business
Okay.
owners love it. To make that damaged concrete usable, call Motor City Floors and Coatings, 248-613-5888. That's 248-613-5888. Or visit MotorCityFloorsandCoatings.com. Powered by Mr. Coatings.
This report is brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance. Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA and national nonprofit offers more than 1,000 free resources for youth or high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org. WJR Traffic and Weather First. Sponsored this afternoon by Gordon Chevrolet. Buying or leasing a vehicle today can be almost impossible unless you buy the Gordon Chevrolet way. Unlike other dealers, Gordon Chevrolet always honors employee pricing plans for you. Ford Road is both in Merriman and Gordon City. Gordon Chevrolet, find new roads. WJR's Traffic First, 696 westbound. Campbell Hilton, 2 lanes are blocked by a wrecked traffic.
So are we going to have time to take calls, Nick, on the...
Westbound at Merriman, just accident in
I don't know.
2 left lanes. Stopping
Nick can't hear you.
Okay.
75 northbound at 9 Mile Road. 2 lanes are blocked by a wreck. Back up again.
But yeah, Dave is here to take calls if need be.
WJR's Weather First, sponsored by Foundation Solutions 360. Winter can be rough. Expect wet basements and crawl spaces or cracks in your foundation as the temperatures change. Foundation Solutions 360 is #1 in foundation and crawl space repair and basement waterproofing. To stay dry, visit FoundationSolutions360.com. That's FoundationSolutions360.com. Here's the WJR Weather Channel forecast.
Well, after some pretty impressive snowfall totals across the area yesterday and last night, things have dried out here across Michigan for today behind our big front. Northwest flow, cold numbers this Friday.
Okay, good enough, Dan. Last minute changes.
Take over this weekend and try to warm us up. Another cold day tomorrow, though, high 21. We do make the low 40s Sunday. Meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on News Talk 760 WJR.
This report is sponsored by Blindster. Looking for a great deal on blinds, shades, and shutters? See 50% off any order during Blindster.com's President's Day sale. Blindster offers custom wood and faux wood blinds, roller shades, cellular shades, even custom plantation shutters. And they're all 50% off for a limited time. Blindster.com.
This is ground control to Major Tom. You really made the grade. And the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare.
Welcome back to more Guy Gordon on WJR. Live from the new Henry Ford exhibit, The Apollo, When We Went to the Moon. Get inspired by your history at the Henry Ford. Visit henryford.org. Once again from Dearborn, here's Guy Gordon.
Can't recommend this exhibit. It's a moment of Henry Ford, and listen to our musical clues because we want to give them down to this exhibit to get you in the door. If you could, we will do that. I've been several days now. The transportation relief. Right now, it's one of the most dangerous roads in 1940s in terms of the rate of traffic fatalities, and we are driving much more aggressively and thoughtlessly and recklessly. It just is a different on the roads, and as part of that, we're put at risk in our construction zones. A bipartisan group of lawmakers have what they think is a fix. It is a traffic enforcement camera, a speed camera that would be able to record the reduced speed mandates of these construction zones, that would have a deterrent to punish those that are not taking and treating our bill is Representative Sierra Convenzi, who is Marquette live this afternoon on the Guy Gordon Show.
Thank you for having me.
You're surprised about something like the very personal inspiration why they have done that. Did you meet a constituent who was touched?
We had a gentleman who was driving too fast and who was distracted. And that same year, we saw 4 more fatalities all over the state. And when you have come together with your labor workers that work on our roads, our operators, and said we need something better. That's when we stepped up.
Yeah, these are people that go to and there's only so much a Dayglow vest can protect you. We have to protect them. We have to be the response. But obviously, these traffic enforcement controversy. Why do you think that this is the best solution to the problem?
Well, when we sat down with the groups that want this, and we talked to them, we said, you know what? If other states are doing this, why can't Michigan? And we actually looked at Maryland's law that has been in place the longest and withstood, a court case that basically said, you can't take pictures of drivers. And it was upheld in court. And that is what we have based our legislation off of. And we feel like we need to get this done because we don't want to go through another construction season, especially knowing that we have the infrastructure dollars, that we're going to see more construction going on than we have now. We don't want to see another season where we have 5 killed. It's unacceptable.
And they leave behind families who thought they'd be coming home. And we've seen this with school shootings and other things. And there are ways that you raise the issue that you believe it's constitutional and that has been tested. Is it effective? Do we know and that they will pay a penalty if they come through that construction zone. They obviously of the reduced speeds that are expected and of the fact because you need to declare that. Effective? Do they make life safer for our road workers?
We do. Maryland, when they first started the program, saw 15% of drivers were driving through these work zones at a rate faster than what was posted. After they had the program in place for 3 years, they noticed that number dropped below 7%. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you personally, my interest in this also came from driving through Maryland, coming up to a construction zone. The car speed going 80 miles per hour, we're now going exactly 45 miles per hour driving through here. Uh-huh. And I said, wow, this everyone follows the law. This is crazy. What's going on? And sure enough, got back to Lansing, started researching it, and they have a very effective program in where they actually got buy-in from the motorists that said, yep, we realize we need to obey the law when we're going through these zones.
So Wayne Schmidt from Traverse City, who is the sponsor of the Senate. And I think he's got a little challenge on his hands because Senator his colleagues has just outright traffic enforcement camera. She was on with Tom Jordan on our mid-morning program, and she feels out ban is necessary. Senator Lana Tice.
Your Sixth Amendment gives you the ability to confront your... Okay, it's really hard a camera. And often what happens with respect to these is the citations are just automatic. And then what happens if it doesn't arrive? Percent trustworthy, right? So that creates a huge problem. I also see it as a due process violation, and then it makes the assumption that you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. What if you lent your car to somebody else? So you have to go there and prove that wasn't actually you driving the car. It just, everybody that I talk to that's experienced these has anecdotal stories about how much they hate them.
Issues, first of all, the idea that you do front your... There is no absolutes. But how would you...
There's a very clear process in Maryland's law, as there will be in Michigan, for how you dispute this. And, the first time you get one of these notifications, it is a warning. And, that's just to draw attention to the fact that you're not obeying the law. You're traveling too fast. The second one, comes with an actual fine. It is not getting points on your record, but again, calling your attention this time with a financial duty to pay, for driving too fast. And to have the support of MDOT, to have the support of our private contractors that work on our roads, to have the support of our labor unions, we feel that we have done our research. We have the best model in our country, and Maryland has proved it works. And, we're going to go through with it.
What about those instances you might lend your car to your children or somebody else? How do you know that you're citing the right person and that you're punishing the right person?
Well, you can, just like Senator Tice said, you can dispute it. And there will be a person who, reviews every single violation that goes out, has to sign off on it. And if you are not the person driving, there's a way to contest it. But again, I would challenge, Senator Tice to come up with a better way to deal with 5 workers dying on our roads doing construction work every summer.
Okay. One of a weekend up there in Marquette. This bit you can find it. .com. Again.
Thank you.
When we come in the
Attorney Joe Cordell.
New school, new job, new home. Change is hard and can leave you feeling isolated. And divorce delivers one of life's hardest blows. The relationships you counted on are suddenly gone. But you don't alone. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has guided men through the challenges of divorce. You're not alone. Call Cordell & Cordell.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Detroit area attorneys. Offices in Troy and Ann Arbor. CordellCordell.com.
Dell Technologies President's Day business sale has arrived.
have you just kicked off the local MIOSHA guy? Is he going to be back every other week finding something wrong? Whether that happens or not, that is a fear that a small business is definitely, they have a right to think that or worry about that. And we need to make sure that if we give these agencies enforcement, they better be using it in a proper way.
As we go forward with this, in fairness to the folks at MIOSHA, they did issue a statement to the Detroit News saying the dismissal or settlement of MIOSHA citations during the appeal process is a demonstration that the process is working as intended to provide employers a fair and objective review of their citations. They would insist that the destruction of these records was fair and was correct because the case was closed. But I guess that we need to broaden the definition of when a case is closed. You would agree, where does the legislature go from here with these oversight hearings into this agency? And by the way, Jack, you and I have discussed this before. You know, this is a competency issue at MIOSHA. We've seen competency issues raised at UIA. And we've also got transparency issues everywhere we look. This is not just an annoying, it's a disturbing pattern that we're witnessing here.
It is, and when in this specific case, as I understand it, the city appealed. The inspector basically said, there's nothing there. The inspector or the person above him who would look at the appeal from all the records that were presented never even looked at it and just dismissed the appeal. Yeah. So that is wrong, and I agree. I think that we need to do something that says, hey, MIOSHA, you've got to hold these records, for a year past any appeals process, something, I don't know, as opposed to once we've issued the citation, we consider it closed. Well, that's bull. It's not closed until an appeal process has been run out. And that could include not just MIOSHA's system.
Guy, did you find that live read?
Got it. Yes, I do.
Cool. Yeah. All right, there's 1 minute left in this, and then 1 minute spot, and then I'm coming to you.
Is when things are finally done.
Well, and the problem is there is still this specter of retribution that hangs over these businesses because they're going to have to deal with MIOSHA in the future. And maybe it begs the question whether they're the proper enforcement agency going forward if, God forbid, we should ever go through this again. Representative O'Malley, you have a great weekend up there up north, okay?
Guy, thank you. I will do it, and call anytime, sir.
I sure will. We should point out that of the businesses that were cited, and there were about 100 of them, 99 of them during the COVID enforcement period there, only two-thirds of them just accepted the punishment and moved on, meaning that either they said, hey, my fault, our foul, we're dealing with it, or they didn't feel like we could appeal. And given the questions raised by the House Oversight Committee, you've got to wonder just how many of those, of that two-thirds, are out there. We'll be back.
Guru Perry Johnson isn't interested in the same things that excite you.
All right, we're coming to you in 1 minute.
Statistics, motivation, quality.
We're going to give you like a 10.
Is just right. Thank Perry Johnson. When you eat
and we got to
Perry Johnson. Perry Johnson.
No, the traffic enforcement
statistics and quality standards to the American automobile industry. Statistics made our cars world class. What he did for our automobiles, he'll do for our government.
Can you really think of a profession more desperately in need of quality than government? Small towns across Michigan are being ignored. Nursing home deaths, cover-ups, billions in unemployment fraud, roads.
Yep, up in 10 seconds.
Okay.
Home. Perry Johnson, quality guru. Governor 5 Perfect Michigan.
Paid for by Perry Johnson for governor.
Metro cars. Metro Detroit has as the official transportation JR. Metro cars of passengers around southeast Michigan every week. For safety, comfort, and reliability, make sure your car is on the side. Visit Metro.
Are you the
parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month.
Good luck.
But you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
TrackPhone wants to know, are you an influencer? A big live streamer? No? Then guess what? You don't need an endless data plan. Get just the right amount of data with TrackPhone's $40 unlimited talk and text smartphone plan. Now with 8 gigs of high-speed data in unlimited carryover on America's largest, most dependable network, now with 5G. Get the data you need at the price you want. TrackPhone Wireless. Now you're in control. Available at major retailers. 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at trackphone.com.
WJR Traffic and Weather first.
696 westbound at Middlebelt Road, a wreck blocks the left lane, stop and go from Inkster Road, but it looks like they're just about to get in the follow-away mode, so we'll keep an eye on that one for you. 75 southbound at Kneff, 2 right lanes are blocked by a wreck, traffic backed up to the Davison Freeway, and 96 eastbound at Merrimack, right there, traffic stop and go from Farmington Road. WJR's Traffic First, sponsored by the National Electrical Contractors Association, NECA, and IBEW Local 58. Put the expertise and skill of NECA signatory contractors and IBEW electricians to work on your commercial, public, industrial, or residential construction projects. Productivity and innovation matter. Learn more at poweringmichigansfuture.com. Here's the WJR Weather Channel forecast.
It is cold and snows on the ground out there, and the northwest winds blowing some of the snow around 22 this afternoon. We'll change the wind direction
30 seconds
down to the south, and we'll start a warm-up for much of early next week. 14 are cold low tonight with 2 flurries. Partly cloudy Saturday, high 21, low 11. And then a warm-up Sunday, sunshine, high 41. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on Newstalk 760 WJR.
This report is sponsored by Panera. Hold on to your mugs because Panera's Unlimited Sip Club is offering the unreal deal of unlimited coffee for only $8.99 a month. Sign up on the Panera app today and get 3 months free. Panera, the familiar made fantastic. Availability and pricing may vary.
Welcome back to more Guy Gordon on WJR. Live from the new Henry Ford exhibit, The Apollo, When We Went to the Moon. Get inspired by your history at the Henry Ford. Visit henryford.org. Once again from Dearborn, here's Guy Gordon.
To experience the newest exhibit, Apollo, When We Went to the Moon, by correctly identifying a theme, and we'll do that. Also, continue collecting those musical clues, and hopefully you'll be able to put them together and come up with a solution to our little Friday puzzle here. And happy Friday, everybody. Great to have you with us. We were discussing earlier cameras. Not in every intersection, even though there are municipalities that already have them and use them. They have been catching criminals because you can see, if for instance, a fleeing felon, you can see them pass through an intersection. You can identify them. That can help track them down and track them back to wherever they may be. This is used in crime fighting in a variety of ways. Operation Green Light in the city of Detroit, which has certainly helped bring down the carjackings that we used to see at gas stations. Well, now prison group, Republican Wayne Schmidt from Traverse City says, look, we've had to confront 5 deaths in construction zones because people either are so negligent and so thoughtless that they won't slow down and obey the speed limits in the construction zone, or because they're distracted and on their cell phones they're putting others at risk. At least in the speed category, we could enforce better application of those laws. These passive traffic enforcement cameras. They would punish those that choose to thumb their nose at the law, and they would also have a deterrent effect, hopefully, especially since these things would be posted. I don't approve response, I don't approve of government using cameras to ticket people. Like the government never makes mistakes or misuses information. And if there is a screw-up, we got the money to hire a lawyer to correct government screw-ups. You would have an appeal. If you believe that you received this citation inappropriately and that wasn't you, you would have the right to appeal. But if you're racing through a construction zone and putting other risks, cited. And I guess my answer to that texter would be, what's your solution? We got a problem. This is one solution. Okay, you don't like it. What's your alternative? What would your solution be? We'll take your call. 1-800-859-0WJR. In the meantime, watching the investigation into the former Speaker of the House, Lee Chatfield, really roll out as more search warrants are executed, not just for the Speaker and his of some of his associates, aides, and relatives. WJR senior news analyst Chris Renwick joining us live with the latest on what's happening. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Guy. Yes, Stephanie Chatfield says her sister-in-law, Rebecca Chatfield's accusations about her husband, former Speaker of the House, Lee Chatfield, all of those sexual assault allegations are just lies. Says, through a statement issued by her attorney, Matthew Newberg, that Rebecca's story of being assaulted is fiction and that she should seek counseling instead. In the statement, says being a victim of sexual assault herself, Mrs. Chatfield is sensitive to those who are true victims of sexual assault, but there are hundreds of occasions where Rebecca could have said something but instead made every attempt to be with Lee Chatfield. Stephanie Chatfield also claims that, according to her personal journal, Rebecca is having visions and wants to be a millionaire this year, although not quite sure how Stephanie would have access to Rebecca's journal. Rebecca, meanwhile, her attorney, Jamie White, says, it's unfortunate but unsurprising that Stephanie Chatfield is responding to rape allegations against her husband in the traditional way by blaming the victim. The guy was just this week that Michigan State Police, in corroboration with the Michigan Attorney General's office, searched the home of a couple of close associates of Lee Chatfield, Rob and Ann Menard, who worked with Chatfield in the legislature. Rob worked as Chatfield's chief of staff, while Ann remains a House employee in Lansing. Meanwhile, Rebecca Chatfield, who's married to Lee's brother Aaron, came public with these sexual abuse allegations just weeks ago, claiming that Lee forced himself on her when she was just 15 years old and used his position of power over her. Well, Lee Chatfield has admitted that they had a consensual affair together, both he and his sister-in-law. Aaron Chatfield told Bridge Magazine recently he was unaware of his brother's alleged misconduct with his wife, but that he always thought his brother was too touchy with Rebecca and had always questioned about their interactions. Meanwhile, Aaron, who worked for the legislature before his brother became speaker, eventually became essentially the driver for Lee Chatfield, drove him around to different places in Lansing, including strip clubs, and even to meetings where he had evening rendezvous with various women. Also, one of the things that had been subpoenaed, or at least taken in this early part of the fact-finding mission of this investigation, was Aaron's cell phone. He is filing a lawsuit to make sure certain parts of his in the may be brought in to investigate this crime.
It is. I mean, I feel like we're watching almost like a reality TV series here, Chris, where we're watching a family fall apart in real time. She claims that her sister-in-law had a number of opportunities to say no, but if we go, that she would, and what I believe was a Bible school operated, that she didn't ever feel like she was in a position where she could bring these allegations.
Oh, and one other part to all of this, too, that could be in the connection to that police investigation at the Menard's house was possible campaign violations. Where did some of this money go that he raised? That's a question we got to find out, too.
Yeah. And Chris, we appreciate your reporting. I am a little tight on time here. I wanted to get to some of your we got a diverse some former police officers that say see the aftermath. They see the consequences of those that ignore laws in those zones. And certainly they're sensitive to the idea. Calls coming up in the quarter hour around 4:15 or so stay with us for that. Much more from the Henry Ford when we come back.
Tommy, a high wind advisory is posted by the National Weather Service. We could get wind gusts through here of about 40, maybe 45 miles an hour, and another cold one tonight, a low of 12. But for the weekend, a more seasonable turn. Sunday, sunny skies and a high of 39. Ken Rogulski, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Take a giant leap into Apollo when we went to the moon. An out-of-this-world exhibit at the Henry Ford. Discover how the future of space travel stands on the shoulders of the first astronauts to walk on the moon. Buckle up for launch into our immersive Apollo 11 experience. Take a selfie on the moon and see artifacts from the early years of space exploration. Don't miss Apollo when we went to the moon, now through May 8th. Liftoff happens here at the Henry Ford.
A touring exhibition co-produced by U.S. Space and Rocket Center and Flying Fish. Why bet when you can invest? Why bet when you can invest with Masterworks? Masterworks is the new platform that lets you invest in blue-chip works of art from icons like Picasso, Monet, and Warhol. So relax
as you go about job when you come here, how kind of really suck all this in and become an expert on what
I've been here 22 years and I'm still learning. So, I've been studying space for about a year to get ready for this one, and I'm just constantly learning.
Just sitting here, I've always, just the design of the building itself, the way they incorporated heating and cooling into the structural pillars, it's just so cool. And so
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
And as a Grand Rapids kid, I look at your furniture exhibit and go, made in Grand.
From the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, this is Guy Gordon on 760 WJR. Today, Guy is live from the launch of the exhibit, The Apollo When We Went to the Moon. Get inspired by your history at the Henry Ford. Visit henryford.org. Here's Guy.
So, and I texted it to my son to show my grandson. And his question was, launch it? Not today, but good. Those are little sparks of the imagination that happen here at the Henry Ford Museum. Now the exhibit opens tomorrow. It's called Apollo When We Went to the Moon, and by John there, put that into your computer that's on your shoulders there, and if you can correct for you to come to the Henry Ford and enjoy with their kids or grandkids, but it's the kind of thing that will spark a lot of imagination. Who's the director of museum engagement at the Henry Ford, Cynthia? It is an experience and it is engaging.
It is fantastic, and your rocket story made me laugh because when we unloaded the exhibition, when it arrived to us about 2 weeks ago when we started building, our truck driver said to me, "Was that a real rocket that was on my truck?" To tell my grandkids.
Yes, and it had fuel in it. So it seems to be, and I don't know if it's the Buzz Lightyear movie or whether it was the 50th anniversary. I don't know what my grandson, but he is so into space, and a lot of his little buddies. Don't get me wrong.
Fantastic.
But we
great on this one. So think about it was part of the anniversary, so we're looking back. It's partly the uncovering of hidden stories with the Hidden Figures movie.
Right.
It's partly all of the folks who are going to space right now, really thinking about making space tourism. But also, I think about the Space Force, right? Mm-hmm. We have an official U.S. Space Force now. So I think it's been in so many layers of our conversation about it, and it's a wonderful way to think beyond the challenges on Earth.
Yeah. As a child, I'm a card kid, and always have been. So it's really fun to connect on that, son. Because of the Bezos trips and what Virgin Galactic is doing and Elon Musk. Do you worry that kind of the magic of Apollo and just the awe of what we accomplished, that some of that might be lost when space travel becomes so commonplace?
I do worry about that a little bit, and yet I also think, okay, those trips are taking us just into space. We're not going far. And yet, and so the dream that could be very real of how do we get to Mars? So I think that, great, let's get to space, let's figure out how to do tourism there. Think bigger than that.
Yeah.
What is it we really want to do? What are we trying to achieve?
Well, touchstones. It was 1 year ago. So, and I think they're in the point. It's long. Yeah. Which, where you stop. We'll be going on a long trip, and we could for the ride. Just look at this moon road. Great topic of conversation as well. Speaking of trips, every month you've got an exhibit that focuses on the Green Book, the book that African Americans in those days would have to carry so they would know what lodgings they were permitted to check into, what restaurants. It's really also a good conversation starter.
It absolutely is, and I love that you went from Perseverance to the Green Book because, when you think about the Green Book, you think about folks were wanting the freedom to travel. They were wanting the freedom of the road. And yet, if you were African American, if you were a person of color, and you were trying to travel, it doesn't matter if you were in the South or the North, you had challenges that you needed to face to do that safely. And so what we ask our guests to do with us is to play somewhat of a game, but it's not really a game. It's actually a very good learning opportunity where they get to roll a set of dice, and they're on a trip from Detroit to Chicago, and their dice tell them, you've had a car problem, looks like this, and here's where that's happened. Let's get out the Green Book and find out where you can go solve that problem.
Yeah.
Put
yourself in the shoes.
Put yourself in the shoes, right? So really have the empathy for that historical moment, but also really have the empathy for what were the challenges. So if you had a flat tire and you were near Jackson, you might not have had a place that you could safely go fix that flat tire. So I think that's a great way to kind of think about the perseverance of getting through those times, but also asking the question, what is different today? What is potentially the same today? And what are we still trying to solve?
Well, and if you those days, there's a little town of Idlewild here in the state of Michigan. African American and 50s, the most hospitable resort if you were a person of color. And I mean, Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway, the great black stars in music of the day, would entertain magical place that once the world became more integrated became badly, and so Idlewild is still there. It's got a great as you're traveling around Michigan into your book is and whatever your travel plans are to live the
Absolutely. And I think what I love about the Idlewild story is something that is true about so many of the stories we tell here. So we told the Idlewild story here a number of years ago and really dug into that music. We like to tell not just stories of perseverance, but stories of excellence, stories of overcoming, innovation, amazing stories like that. A small one right now that we're featuring that was a piece that we did a video on is Lonnie Johnson in the Super Soaker, right? So who are the folks who are making these interesting innovations, who are doing things that we use every day that you haven't thought about who made that? Let's discover that. Let's find out who that was.
Well, as we celebrate Black History Month, of course, we have the Rosa Parks bus, which is still just the means that you discovered it, found story in a movie.
That utterly could be a movie. Yeah.
But some of the other times we are coming down here to make it a twofer in the month of February.
big touchstones that we're trying to call out this year is that we've launched our own app. So when you come down here and you're using that computer in your pocket, in your phone, download our app, and you can take our Black Empowerment Tour, which will take you across the museum. So you discover this, these amazing inventors and entrepreneurs all across our collections. Whether that's George Washington Carver and his microscope and thinking about agriculture and community nutrition, or whether that's Frederick Douglass and thinking about freedom and what was it like to be a formerly enslaved person advocating for freedom, all the way across the museum to a really cool car called the Warrior. And looking at the Warrior and saying, okay, who made that and what is that about? And finding out that the person who made that, McKinley Thompson, was one of the people who designed the early Bronco.
Right.
And so making those connections across the museum are so important to us.
Well, and then you look at the past 20 years, Jack Wellborn, an African-American, was the head of design. Design at Chrysler and turning out things like the new Chrysler Airflow. So, I mean, it goes on, and you see that those trailblazers are even now blazing trails for others as well. Cynthia, it's here at the Henry Ford, and we hope people make time to come down and see it.
Absolutely. It's open till May 8th. You got a couple of weeks, couple of months here. Come on down, come see it.
And it's much easier to plan than a trip to the moon. So just take it and run with it. Thanks so much. 09. We are running 3 minutes inside here. Enforcing the law in our construction zones. We lost 5 road workers to people who obey the speed limit in construction zones last year. Way to that next on the Guy Gordon Show.
Listen Saturday at 7 a.m. to Mackinac on Michigan. Join Kelly Cobb and Jared Skorp from the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, as well as special guests, as they tackle the issues Michigan residents are thinking about. From education to business, taxes, and more. Get the information you need to know about what's happening in Michigan and Lansing. Saturday, 7 a.m., Mackinac on Michigan. Presented by the Frank Beckman Center for Journalism and the Mackinac Center for Public Policy.
Hi, I'm Connie Holson. We're always talking about cars and trucks, but we seldom appreciate the people behind the scenes, the hard-working people who make it all happen, from conception to completion, down to the smallest detail. These dedicated people make sure that you're driving the safest and the best-looking vehicles on the road. We want to acknowledge the remarkable people of Ford Motor Company. We at Tom Holster Ford appreciate you. Thank you.
Hunger and homelessness don't take a day off. The Salvation Army's Bed and Bread program provides food and shelter every single day of the year. More than 77,000 nights of shelter and nearly 1.6 million meals to the community's most
slippery. But so be confirmed. All due respect to Senator, no, you're not going to confront the candidate. You do have to sign that ticket. The camera's not going to sign the ticket. The law enforcement agent is. Cops. There. I would bet there's more that are saying hallelujah and hosanna out there as well. Other on that. Hello, Frank.
Hey, good afternoon. Kevin Deep had a session on this, I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10 months ago, and I called in because this is button issues. I drive anywhere from 30 to 50,000 miles a year and live in my car, especially going upside I-75 where the rebuild all Saginaw, that area, Bay City. You never see state police in the construction zone. Never. You see them before the construction, see them after the construction zone. You never see them in the construction zone, and I don't understand it. So laws and cameras and anything else, if the police stop this thing long, it out, and these people will slow down. Well, I guess, but I'm just saying, you know, because right now they're not enforcing construction zone speeding. And the why it is, but apparently in Michigan, if you own a pickup truck or if you own an Escalade, you have
It's I don't know what it's a sense of it's a sense of I guess that you're impervious, that you're invincible.
Well, you drive up north, am I lying?
Bonnie, and so where the and you know, for our folks at the MSP, you know, is this what we're looking at because of some budget cuts? Is the reaction price together? Well, no. But folks wanted to do in Detroit. They said, well, let's ban because you know they. The idea is, well, let's just throw them up. Find a technology. Let's figure out a way to make. But his idea of banning everything makes me a little bit crazy. Just the tragedy of what happened in Oakland Hills building. Wooden structure in the state of Michigan. 100. Completely destroyed by fire in an early morning blaze yesterday. WJR senior news analyst Lloyd Jackson joining us with.
Hi, Guy. Yeah, firefighters are still out there at Oakland Hills this afternoon putting water on hot spots after that horrific fire in the clubhouse that is now totally destroyed. The structure flames ripped through the roof of the building that was built back in 1922, decorated with a replaceable memorabilia and art. Officials, items from the club's main trophy case were saved, along with some original artwork for the firefighters at the Bloomfield Township Fire Department that were able to get to some of the bringing them out before the clubhouse was totally unreplaceable items at that 100-year-old clubhouse, of trophies and pictures and other tournaments held at Oakland Hills. Bloomfield Township Fire Chief John Leroy said the clubhouse fire on the north side was put out, but massive structural damage led to the building pancaking on itself, and it was difficult to get water to some needed areas, and it was causing hot spots to pop up. That's why they're still out there trying to make sure everything is out and dousing it with more water. He said that it would likely be a total rebuild. Once that fire is completely out, the investigation will soon, and they will look for the cause of the blaze. And the cold temperatures got added to the difficulty fighting that fire as well. Not only with fire, smoke and fire, but also the cold as the fire trucks and water lines were freezing up, making the need for the department to have rotations where the different departments come in and help fight that blaze. Not only golf tournaments and events held at the clubhouse, but weddings and receptions. I really feel for those who are planning on getting married there or having your reception, because now they'll have to find another venue for the event. Even if you wasn't a golfing guy, I mean, clubhouse was the place to socialize, and even if you were not a golfer, which I'm not. Praise the Lord, you're not a golfer, but I'm not a golfer, but everybody knows that. You know about it.
Well, I got to tell you, my oldest son's first job, they've got his first job. He worked kids. So I'm a long-time employee, and that's certainly a part of the tragedy as well. This idea that they were able to save some of these artists, what a wonderful thing. And the club said, make no mistake, we're going to have, we'll rebuild and in the wake of still. We know.
Yeah, they had some water pressure issues as well, but they adjusted to it and were able to put the water into the custom foot and get that out. Guy, before you go real quick though, the cameras on the road, I think that you have the cameras, especially in those spots where they're doing construction workers are getting hit. And let me tell you, when my daughter was going to the University of Toledo and her car was registered to me, Big Brother let me know she had a ticket. I got the ticket at the house because it came to me. And I was like, so where's the ticket come from? What the hell? What are you saying?
So, that's the ticket too. But these road workers are put to see more important that. But I'd also like to see people respect those folks. Tom, I got to drop to Tom. He thinks we're average. Obviously, they're on a so we couldn't do that. But what you can't is Tom and think on the school buses to catch kids at risk. I think of them. Think of the kids that are put in jeopardy because people are so thoughtless that even after the flashing light, they hurry, and that they're more important than the children getting off of that bus. Much more.